Joining us today on our third episode of Between the Shifts, our podcast here at Stop and Starts. I know we've talked about a realm of stuff already. My intro was pretty long. We talked about little Johnny a lot. And the second episode was about equipment and skill development. Today, I want to be a little bit more specific. And as we continue with these podcasts, obviously this platform is to enable you parents and players to kind of really get a broad idea of what it takes to get to where you want to go. And with us today, we have Erin Bratcher with EB Athletics. We're going to talk about off-ice training. She's got a platform and a program that can help kids. She already works with a ton of kids here locally in various sports, but also a platform that you can work with Erin outside of our area. And again, this platform was created for us to be able to reach as many kids as we can, not just kids that I've coached personally or that Erin has worked with locally, but this is a platform where, look, we're athletes. We were athletes, and we know what it takes. And if there's a platform that we can use to share that knowledge with you guys, then we want to be able to do it. It's very satisfying to pay it forward. And Erin's been fantastic. She's worked with my kids now for almost 10 years, probably, if not more. So glad to have you on board, Erin, and welcome to the show.
Welcome to Between the Shifts, the show for hockey families, players, coaches, and leaders, with your host, Mark Janae, former pro, coach, and hockey parent, and owner of Stop and Starts Hockey. Real talk, smart advice, and stories you can actually use.
First off, I just want you to kind of introduce yourself and let everybody know your college career, your pro career, what you did.
Yeah. So Erin Bratcher, I've been in the strength and conditioning world full-time since 2018. Prior to that, I played Division I college basketball down at Charleston Southern. After that, I went and played professionally in Germany, the Bundesliga. Played 4 seasons over there. And that's during that time was kind of when I got my start in the strength and conditioning field. I know you know Aaron Brown, but I went to undergrad for kinesiology, which is a pretty broad sports science topic. People become ATs, PTs, all kinds of things. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And then continued playing, which kind of bought me more time, I guess, to figure out what I was going to do. During one of my off seasons, I came home and started working for Aaron Brown, he's a well-known strength and conditioning coach at this point. He'd already been in the industry 15 years. He's owned his own facility, worked with a lot of athletes, all different levels. And that kind of sparked, I guess, my fire and what I might really want to do next. So, I went back, finished my playing career, but during that time, got my master's in applied exercise science. I started kind of like setting the stage for the next steps.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm familiar with Aaron Brown here locally. He used to train. I've been coaching a long time, so I think one of our first teams, we used to go to his facility, and
Right.
I think that's when you and I initially met.
Yeah. He's been around a long time, and people might not know, but he's got like every certification under the sun. He's very well versed in this field, and one of the first conversations we had was, it's great that you have your undergrad, but you really should go get your master's and some more specific certs. Once I did all that, kind of set me up to what do I want to do? College, high school, private sector. And I've frankly dipped my toe in all of those.
Yeah, and still do.
Yeah,
right?
and still do. Yeah, which is unique. Normally you kind of narrow down to one, but I started working at Meredith College right off the bat in 2018 and working a little bit in the private sector. It wasn't until 2020 and, COVID that I started my own thing. So,
yeah. And known as EB Athletics, right?
Correct.
I mean, and you have a really nice facility here. I know you've got a really good list of, you got kids that played youth hockey here that have now gone on to D1.
Yeah.
Some guys are playing pro that still come to your facility. So that says a lot about what you do. And I've, heard some stories from certain players to where, fitness sometimes I've seen it. I'm still involved in fitness in my 50s and still try to continue staying fit. But I just see the importance of fitness coming through, and it becomes a lifestyle for these guys because, back in my playing days, I mean, we still had guys at times smoking a cigarette between the periods, and maybe not being as fit as they are now.
Right.
I mean, the lifespan of a hockey career early on was 5 years. Now I would hedge my bets to say that it's closer to 10 years, only because the guys are taking care of themselves. But my point was that a lot of these guys come back home and can't wait to get back in the gym with you because of the amount of progress they've made during the season.
Yeah. I mean, last year your son was part of this group, but that off-season summer training group, I mean, their numbers were ridiculous. I pre-tested them, and about halfway through, we retested, and I mean, they couldn't believe it. They were putting up like 50 pounds on a deadlift after just like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And that stuff translates, you know, they see it in their speed and their power, explosiveness. So when kids like commit to the program, they buy into not just how it affects their game, but how it affects them like their body and for life. And that's part of what, you know, has made this so, you know, interesting to me.
Yeah, and growing up for me, one of the first programs was Ice Fit up in Ottawa. The guy's name was Mark Slater, also a very certified guy. And we had a ton of athletes from the Steve Eisenmans to the Jeff Chikrins to the Luke Richardsons. And we all did the same program, right? And as a, you know, I started at 15, 16, I think, my first year junior. You know, I needed to put weight on. That was the most important thing. And, you know, the IceFit program was fantastic. It was a Bible. It was 6 days a week. It was intense.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, a lot of the training, and one name comes to mind is O'Reilly from the Nashville Predators. He has really changed. Like, I see some of his off-ice workouts, like on a beam, like a gymnastics beam.
Yeah.
And he does a lot of flexibility and mobility. For me, my program, I could reiterate back in the day, was a lot of squats, a lot of lateral squats, a lot of bulking to actually increase the muscle mass so it can sustain the longevity of the ice hockey season, right?
Right.
Why did you get involved in fitness? Like, did you get injured? I mean, I know you came back home and worked with Aaron Brown, but what really set the difference between you just saying, man, this is what I want to do?
Yeah. So, you know, I graduated high school in 2010. So it shows a lot of things have changed in that time. When I was in high school, no one stepped foot in the weight room unless you played football or maybe men's basketball. And it wasn't until my, you know, senior year when it was clear that I was on track to be a D1 athlete that one of my basketball coaches pulled me in and was like, this is the next step. Like, you got to get in the weight room. I was like 5'9", 140. So I was just scrawny, and I was a shooter, and I was like, I got to be able to handle the contact and stuff. So he pulled me in, and between, you know, the end of my senior year of high school, freshman year of college, I put on 15 pounds of muscle. And at that size, that's a huge difference. Didn't slow me down or any of these things that a lot of females in particular are concerned about. It helped me like tremendously. Could handle contact, could grab rebounds, hold on to it. And when I saw the impact on my game, I think obviously that a light bulb goes off of like, wow, you invest in this and it's going to pay off.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it's not only that, you know, obviously I want to help athletes turn a corner in their game, but now I've also transitioned into, I'm no longer an athlete and I'm trying to train for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a hard process. I've been talking to Grace about it. You know, it takes some athletes years sometimes to figure out.
And I tell families all the time that reach out to me is, you know, you can't force the light bulb to come on, right? Like you talked about the light bulb. I said, oh my God, you know, finally it's working.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, I can see the difference. You can't force that. And every athlete, that light bulb comes on at a different time. And no matter what they do, they have to acknowledge it themselves in order for them to, like I hear parents all the time, oh, I'm his parent and he won't listen to me.
Right.
It's got nothing to do with that, right? It's not because you're the parent that he's not listening. It's just not rational for him. And the light bulb's not coming on to where he believes it. But the minute he does believe it, whether he believes that fitness is good for him or believes how good he can be as an athlete, all of a sudden that player's dynamic completely changes.
And it comes from experience. And it could be, like you mentioned, injuries are a big one where they start to turn a corner and realize, hey, I have to do this to get back to that. But yeah, every kid has a different experience with it. And part of what I've seen is that they learn to appreciate what it does for them beyond sports. And that's a big part of this too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Now, what sports do you cater to? Like, obviously, you've trained two of my kids, both hockey players. You know, you help out a ton of hockey players in your gym. What other sports do you cater to?
Yeah, hockey has been a big one. We do a lot of soccer, basketball. I mean, through the high school and the college, we hit all the traditional sports. So, you know.
Lacrosse, basketball.
Yeah, because Cardinal Gibbons has 900 athletes. So we've got pretty much every sport that you see in a school. Outside of that, at EB, we see a lot of your non-traditional sports. So ice hockey, rugby. We've got like a roller derby team. It's kind of just a resource to those that they wouldn't get it other places.
And again, word of mouth, right? The people in, say, lacrosse or soccer or even track see a kid going to school, and it's amazing that we talked about hockey, and I digress all the time, but you know how much hockey has grown here. I mean, you know, we've gone to having 2,500 hockey players here in town, and all of a sudden now I'd hedge my bets to where we're probably between 8,000 and 10,000 between all the programs that are available at different levels, from a house league to AAA level. It doesn't really matter. From a young athlete coming in to see you, what do you see most? Like, what do you see today? Like, you know, we talked about me in the 80s and 90s, and now we talked about you in 2010. Now we're 26. What do you see today?
So one of the big changes, which has been going on for a while, is early specialization. So they're no longer playing 3 or 4 sports. They're picking one and they're going all in. And that has its pros and cons.
At what age do you see that?
It's starting earlier and earlier. I would say by middle school, most of them are picking one sport and going with it. And it's not necessarily all negative, but a lot of strength coaches will say that's not great for their development, right? They're not getting to, you know, a break from certain planes of motion and being able to work in other ones. They're just hammering the same movement
or using
patterns.
Different skill sets. Like I will say that I haven't seen too many hockey players that are bad at golf. I haven't seen too many hockey players that are bad at lacrosse. I haven't seen too many hockey players that are not good at any other racket sports, whether it's pickleball or tennis. Hockey as a whole is probably, I mean, I could say the same for basketball, except for the fact that maybe the hand-eye with a stick or an extension of your arm might not be as fluid, but...
Well, it's also like a mental break for them, right? Usually they have one sport that's their main sport. They're putting some pressure on themselves for, and then maybe the second one is just for fun. And you see less of that, which is, again, fine, but they're also losing some of those other skills. So having them in start strength and conditioning can kind of help fill some of those gaps. You know, hockey players aren't jumping on the ice a lot, but we're getting them in the weight room and working on those kind of movement patterns to help them translate to the ice.
And that argument comes a lot these days, like from various pro guys that say, you know, that's the problem with today's kid is they're not playing multiple sports anymore. But I don't know that I agree or disagree. I think it's up for a topic of conversation with a nice stiff drink. But I think for me, at the end of the day, the competitiveness of one particular sport, gone are the days that you can just show up, put your gear on and go play. Those days are over. Like if you're not putting in extra time on power skating and off-ice fitness and skill development and learning the game,
and that's just
you're going to lose.
That's just it. Hockey is one of the sports that I work with, one of the few sports that does it right. They give the athletes time to do that, to work on their skill stuff, their skating and their stick work and everything else. They have an off season, so they can come in, they can put on muscle, they can work in different phases. Most of these sports, though, don't stop playing. And if you're in season all year and you're just playing, you're not drilling, you're not working on the skills, that's where you're like, are we helping or are we hurting at this point?
Well, we could talk about that all day.
That's a different topic.
Let's talk about the gym. Like, I know my kids love coming to the gym. They love the atmosphere you've built in there. They love the setup. Describe how you came about that. And what was your purpose with the layout? I know people can't see it right now. It would have been cool to have a picture, but they can go on your website as well, which is ebathletics.com.
Yep, that's it. So the gym, like I said earlier, started during COVID. So it was one of those situations where you work for yourself or you don't work at all. And, you know, I was like, I have all these kids that have been asking me for stuff. Let me just figure out the business side of this. And I know we can roll with it. So the first 3 months we actually worked out of a park. And this was COVID. You weren't allowed inside anyway. It was like, you know, do what you can outside. We got pretty creative. It was a lot of speed training, a lot of body weight work. Moved into a facility, worked out of the first facility for 3 years as a shared space, and then moved into where we are now. And it's a 5,000 square foot space with turf and sleds and all your stuff. You can do dynamic work, but also the racks and dumbbells and free weights where we can do the strength work as well.
I want to talk about our partners here. Obviously, True Hockey, huge partner for us. They're a manufacturer of skate sticks and gloves. I'm a big fan. Both my kids play with their products. I also want to bring up Stansted College, which is a prep school, a Canadian prep school just outside of Sherbrooke in Stansted. Super excited about their development. The Universal Academy, which I've had my son play for Marco Pietranero there at that program. They have a unique concept. Love the development and love the concept that they have. Jeremy Millimucks over at Coeur d'Alene made the jump to Coeur d'Alene and is now taking that program to some pretty significant heights. EB Athletics, Erin Bratcher, she is here locally in Raleigh. She's a former Division I basketball player, extremely knowledgeable and qualified in off-ice fitness. Hunter Bishop Hockey is located in Charleston. My son's been skating with him for the last 2-3 years. Hunter's ex-professional hockey player, is a skill development coach for the South Carolina Stingrays in the East Coast Hockey League. A fantastic skill coach. Lastly, we've got Schaefer Hockey Group, which is an agency, an advisor group. Patrick Schaefer, you need placement, you need somebody to represent your player, whether you're leaving college, head to the pros. Patrick has a pretty hefty list of clients, does a good job representing them and opening doors. Again, Patrick was a former hockey player. People return his phone call. Now, with all these kids that come to the gym, you also have an online platform, right?
Correct, yeah.
So you're able for, and I talk about little Johnny all the time. After my first podcast, everybody's like, man, who's little Johnny? But as a general rule, these kids come in, they work out, and then they have a platform that they fill out. Talk about that platform.
So our higher level athletes, I have them all on TeamBuildr. And TeamBuildr is obviously very popular at this point. Most colleges use it. A lot of high school programs use it. The junior canes use it. And it's a platform that allows me to kind of streamline all of their programming. So I can put their programs in. We can look at long-term progressions. I can throw in microcycles. I can adjust it as we need to. But the biggest thing for them is they can track all of their progress. They can put in all their weights. They can see a history of where they've grown. I can pull reports and look at like bigger cycles of time and say, hey, this is where we were. This is where we're going. And it's really cool for the kids that are in person, but it's great for the kids that are not local. Because it also allows me to like write them programs to do in Canada. I've had kids all over the world at this point that, they can send me video feedback to check their form. We can opt in and out of stuff and switch it up day of if I need to. It's super interactive, which allows me to kind of like reach more kids that need this kind of thing.
And again, you could tell with your passion and my passion for the game. And for me, this is not a money-making scheme.
Right.
For me, this is
Yeah.
kind of just a platform where I can help more kids than just the kids that I've coached locally. And that's all I'm trying to do. Yes, there is a fee for everything. It costs to do this, it costs to do that. I understand. But at the end of the day, allowing you to make sure that they're getting the proper training for whatever sport they may want to do. Like, I know this is stop and starts and this is a hockey platform, but man, at the end of the day, the sisters and the brothers that may not play hockey may also need a training platform that would be also conducive to what you do.
Well, frankly, I've started putting parents on it. Parents are taking their kids to the gym and sitting there waiting an hour. And I was like, don't you guys want to, make sure you're staying in shape too? Their programs are very different, but they can benefit from this.
No jumping.
Well, very little.
So you monitor the progress. You also do some testing. I just want to recap on that. So you can evaluate a kid now. For somebody that doesn't live in Raleigh, you would be able to do, say, a Zoom call.
Yeah. So
have a conversation, have a meeting, kind of get a physical or, an ice shot of the kid and can say, okay, what kind of player is he? What does he need to work on? What is his feedback from his coaches? And at that point, you turn that around, create a platform for him to follow.
Right.
And then you can monitor progress and obviously do testing for him, regardless if he's in Raleigh or not.
Yeah, correct. It usually starts with either a Zoom call or a phone call, just going over, hey, what have we got? Like, what kind of gym are you going to? How often are you training? Have you had any injuries? Let's chat. What is your coach saying? What do we need to work on? From there, we can build it all out and we can keep up with him every day if we need to.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I want to talk a little bit about stop and starts. When I first approached you to let you know what I was kind of working on, what I was thinking about, obviously I came about this platform because, like I talked in my first podcast, the realm of advising has become more of a placement gig than I think. And my son having advisors and just not getting the feedback that we need in that advisory role.
Yeah.
Now, I understand the work that an advisor does, like Schaefer Hockey Group or any other type of advising firm. we'll spend a good bit of time making phone calls to try to get an opportunity, try to get a door to open so that they can get to camp and be seen.
Right.
However, for stop and starts, it's not about that. It's really about helping the kid develop,
Right.
helping them through adversity, helping the families, guide them into making good decisions. And so when I approached you about that, how did you feel initially? Like,
I mean, I think this is awesome. Like I've worked with so many of the athletes that you've also worked with, and you know, I've seen why they're in it, right? They're wanting something a little more. They're wanting to push themselves. They're wanting, you know, to do the best they can, and that's exactly what, you know, I want to work with. I want to work with the kids that care, and whether this is for a 5-year hockey career or a 20-year hockey career, you know, I want to help them be the best they can be while they have that time. And these kids are invested. They're willing to put in the work and commit to it.
Yeah. And for us, it's just a platform to help them, right? Like you know, pay it forward. I mean, my dad, again, you know, love him. He's never paid for any other development outside of my off-ice fitness and my power skating. That was it. Never had a skill coach.
Right.
I really never had an advisor. This was kind of a long time ago where that wasn't really a thing. But now you need to have people that you can trust and help you make better decisions. I'm not here to make any decisions for anybody. I just want to walk you through the process and what are the opportunities available. And, you know, having a partner like yourself with us allows me to, you know, as I'm having a conversation and little Johnny gets cut from the AAA team, then I can have a conversation about, okay, well, what was the feedback? What did they do? I really think you need to get in touch with EB Athletics and really let her help you with either your boots are slow, you're not strong enough in the corners, you're not able to keep the puck on your stick along, you're not able to create time and space. That's all about body confidence and body positioning, which only comes if you gain confidence in the gym.
Right. And that's one piece of the strength training that people don't talk about enough, just the confidence. You know, obviously it's going to translate on the ice. Every bit of getting stronger and faster is going to make a difference. But if they feel more confident in it too, I mean, that's where that carries into all parts of life.
Absolutely. You know? I remember my first year junior, you know, I was 5'7", 140 pounds. And man, I was skinny. And so I was grade 9. When I came back for grade 10, everybody thought in school I was on steroids because I'd put on like 35 pounds. I was now closer to the 170 range, 175 range. And even the coach, when he saw me walk in the locker room, was like, holy shit, what did you do this summer? I was like, man, I need to get stronger. Like, I could feel my confidence carrying the puck, shooting the puck, decision making. It was lights out. Man.
And at this point in my career, I felt it as an athlete, the difference it makes, but I've also seen it as a coach. Like you see these kids go from one level to jumping way up.
Absolutely.
And you're like, they put in the work to get there.
And that's been really cool for me, right? Like I've been able to not only teach them stuff on ice, but the minute that they make my team in the fall, off to EB Athletics we go, even though I feel like at times trying to combine the fitness and the hockey all in one year with our travel schedule gets a little hectic. And sometimes going to the gym tired, you're better to stay home and rest. You know, that's a key part of fitness too, is understanding and
take a mobility day. I mean, like that's especially at that high school age, that's a big part of what we're trying to teach too. Like learn to listen to your body. If you're exhausted, maybe we're doing mobility, maybe we're doing recovery. If you have a game the next day, maybe we're not skipping the session altogether, but we're doing some activation or something else. And once they learn what they need, they're going to better take care of themselves.
And even at my age, like I'll tell you 2 days ahead before I know I'm gonna get sick. Like I am dialed in. May not look as good as what I did in the 20s, but man, I know my body. I know what's happening. And I think that's just been a progression of my career, being able to, you know, as a smaller size guy in my era, right? I wasn't 6'2", 240 pounds. I was maxed out at 5'11". I'd get on my toes at a training camp just to see if I could get to 6 feet and nobody would catch me, but that didn't work. And, you know, the heaviest I ever got in college was 198 pounds, and I didn't feel good at 198 pounds. I was too bulky. So you learn to know and discover your body as a whole, which that's the piece of fitness that we don't talk about.
Absolutely. And you hope that kind of stuff carries into after.
Big question. How early should kids start talking or doing fitness? You know, this is another topic, like we should play multiple sports and we should do all that, and
it could be its own full conversation. The short answer is every kid develops differently, right? Every 11-year-old isn't at the same biological development as they are numerically. chronologically. So we have to take in consideration, where are they in their physical development? And then the second question is, what are we doing with them? It's not, they can't train all together. It's, are we working on body control and stability and balance and coordination? Great. That foundation is huge for when you build on it later. But if we're throwing them under barbells and having them max out a back squat, maybe that's not the best thing for an 11-year-old.
Yeah.
So it's a big thing about what are we doing? Obviously, when they're prepping for college, kids need to be in the weight room. They're gonna get smacked when they get to college. So we need to have them in there and teach them the fundamentals. But if they start at 11U, 12U, working on just coordination, well, at least now we know they have the body control to add some weight to it when they get 13U, 14U. What we've done with the junior canes is we developed a long-term progression model. So every age group has these standards that we expect them to meet. Okay, you can stand on one foot with your eyes closed without falling over. Check. Now we can start adding like some split squats or single leg stuff. It's very basic stuff, but it's like really key to their long-term.
Are those exercises that you've learned about that are telltale signs that they're ready for the next progression?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. And, you could have a team.
Because I don't think I could stand on one leg, my legs closed without falling over. I mean, I do hot yoga 3 days a week and my eyes have to be open.
Yeah. Well, it is a telltale sign. And, within a team of 20, 11-year-olds, you might have 3 different levels within that team, right? Okay. You might have your advanced, like these kids move like 15-year-olds and they have the bodies of 15-year-olds.
And does it matter, like, how tall they are, how short they are? Like, I always feel like, especially U8, U10, you see this little speedster
Gangly,
out there.
Yeah.
He's a little smaller. Then you see, big giraffe out there that, he's...
Yeah, that definitely has an impact. The longer limbed guys, Bauer, you guys are both built like that. The weight room is hard for them, right? Yeah. You got long limbs. It makes things a lot harder. But it doesn't mean, they can't develop in their own way. But that all boils down to what we do when we do our assessments. Yeah. We go through needs analysis. What do each of these kids need? And then we kind of develop that path of foundation we need to build.
I remember getting fitted for my tux when I was getting married and I was the last guy. We were just joking around, having a few cocktails while doing the fitting. And the guy measures the length of my arms and just whispers back to the person that's writing it, 36. And the person that's writing it down just looked up, what? There's no way that short guy's got the longest limbs of anybody in here. I was like, oh, yes, I do. Yeah. So, and Bauer's very much like that. Grace, long-limbed as well. So, pretty unique for me to see a kid just kind of gravitate towards it. Like, you give them a little bit and then they want a little bit more. And as they grow, they continue to want more, right? Because they're seeing that it's already making progress. Right. Super cool. How would you cater to athletes outside of Raleigh? We kind of touched on it a little bit already, that can't come to the gym at all.
Yeah. I mean, that's where, again, the app that we use is very interactive. So that is very helpful. And then just communication throughout, keeping up with them, getting video check-ins, progressions, hearing from their coaches. A lot of times I'll end up meeting with their coaches as well to figure out how they're looking on the ice and what they need. But just setting it up where we're continually in touch with them and helping to work them through a program.
What does a program cost for a player like that? Like, let's just say he's U12 is a little small, but still, I think maybe at that point you could start with the coordination stuff and the mobility and agility stuff.
Yeah, and it varies because at that age they're probably only in the gym 1 or 2 times a week versus a 18U that might be in there 5 times a week.
That's
so
right.
We do have kind of a little bit of a scale here because we know they also have to pay for gym memberships to go do it somewhere
else. Yeah,
we try to keep it like $100 or less a month. But it depends on the kids.
Is that something at an early age they could probably just buy some equipment and do some of that stuff at home for a couple of years and just have mom and dad?
I mean, a lot of it's body weight. You're doing speed and agility. You're learning how to control your body. You don't need a ton of equipment.
What about form when they're so far away? Like, do you have a platform on this or an area on this platform that allows you to maybe see some videos of the kid or correct some form? Because man, at the end of the day, you can bench all you want. And you see the guys at the Gold's Gym with their backs arched, and it ends up being a half squat versus a bench press.
There's 2 parts of that. There's video demo for everything, so they're able to watch, and
that's already on the platform.
And it's already on the platform. It's stuff that I've put on there, and so they can watch exactly how I'm wanting them to do this, and they can learn that way. There's also a written description because some people are less visual. and more verbal. They can follow the written description. And then there's a video feedback. So when they're doing it, they can set up their camera, record themselves doing it. It comes right to me. I can say, yep, good, perfect form. Or I can say, let's adjust your stance, let's adjust your grip.
Okay.
And kind of take it from there.
Again, just wanted to make sure, because I believe in the form is critical to prevent injuries and to make sure you're working on the right muscles. Right. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So from about $100, we're looking at, getting them the initial meeting and kind of getting them organized, again, depending on their age, what they're requiring, what they need, and go from there.
Yeah.
All right, Erin, this has been a great chat. I do, in closing, I want to kind of wrap up fundamentals of fitness. We talked about what are the essential components of combining the whole fitness under one roof. Right? You need rest. You need good fitness. You need anaerobic for ice hockey players. You need a good nutrition. Yeah. Talk about that.
I mean, it's a total thing. So learning your body is a big part of it. Figuring out what kind of meals work for you, pre-practice, pre-game, what kind of recovery you need. Sleep is a big one. They've gone away from the days where they give you a set number. Everybody has a number that's better for them, the number of hours that they need. Certain numbers will affect your cortisol levels, how susceptible you are for illness and things like that. Injury risks skyrockets if you're not at the right level of sleep.
And I always felt when I was on the road too, no matter what time we got in somewhere, I'd always get up around 7 and have breakfast.
Right.
For me, I just felt sharper. If I slept too long, I felt hazy, no legs. And then trying to get legs from no legs was virtually impossible. And so I really, again, part of my fitness being dialed in, I just wanted to make sure that, I got up at 7 and made sure my roommate wanted to get up at 7 because that was another issue. And then go about your business. But
and this is actually all part of our training app too at this point. We do readiness questionnaires. Hey, did you get enough sleep? Are you hydrated? Did you get enough fueling? Is all of this set so you can perform at your optimal level? Yeah.
And again, you're doing all this with a purpose, right? Like again, you're training different athletes in different fields.
Yeah.
I like the fact that your program can be specific. Do you have any broad examples, like what exercises you get to a hockey player to do versus, say, a basketball player?
So this goes back to, I've been throwing out the phrase needs analysis, and strength and conditioning, that's a big term. We look at the sport, we look at the position, and then we look at the individual. So hockey, the highest injury risk is groin. So we're going to hit things like Copenhagen's. We're going to hit a lot of stuff in the frontal plane. It's also a rotational sport. So we're going to work in those planes in a way that hopefully prevents those most common injuries. Basketball, ankles are a big one. So again, we got a different set of kind of injury prevention tools. We're going to work in for that.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Well, Erin, it's a pleasure having you on Stop and Starts. I hope it was beneficial to all of our fans out there. Again, our views are increasing. That's fantastic. I do want to bring out again, the minute we get 100 members signed up to Stop and Starts, the website, as a member, we have a free pair of skates that we're giving away based on our friends at True. And I also want to reiterate all of our likes on all of our social media platform, as well as our podcast. So, Erin, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It was awesome chatting away from the gym and not talking about my kids, make sure they're not slack. But it's been awesome having you, and I appreciate all the work you do for all the kids.
Yeah, anytime.
Thanks for listening to Between the Shifts. If you found value today, hit subscribe and leave a review. It helps more hockey families find this show. Want deeper support? Join the Stop and Starts hockey membership at stopandstartshockey.com for coaching, private lessons, and ongoing evaluations. Follow us on social media on X at Stop and Starts, Instagram at Stop and Starts Hockey, and Facebook Stop and Starts Hockey. See you next time. Keep developing, keep growing, and keep skating strong.